recently when I thought things were um, going downhill, seemingly. Um, the world or someone let me know that you may not know who, how, or where from, but the universe is conspiring to see that you make it to wherever it is that you choose, as long as it's the righteous path. Um, it's a very narrow road, um, and very few find it. It's very narrow, and that's not easy. Um, so with divinity comes a natural separation, and um, the conflict or the struggle or the associated pain or resulting whatever it is isn't a hardship because it's change, but it's disassociation because we have associated um, whatever acquired taste that led to waste with, you know, some sort of feeling or, you know, some sort of a stimuli or stimuli that's associated with some sort of feeling. And when we acquire taste because of exposure, when we expose ourselves to things, or when we become exposed to different things, say for example nightclubs, then one drink becomes, you know, an open bar every weekend. And divinity requires, or perfection requires, that we maintain, that we are in a constant state of divinity, or, you know, the space that makes our existence possible. And in order to stay in that space, um, you know, the universe, you know, the earth is a living, breathing mechanism, and other elements involved um, therein require that we maintain a balance. And so when we're out of balance, we experience waste. And to get back to that, you know, space, that ground, that level ground, or soundness, you know, or goal weight, or, you know, maintaining a healthy diet or something. And what we encounter is a natural process of divinity, which is like division, right? Separation of the good and the bad, all these things, which is not good. But the pain or the conflict of interest that we associate with these processes, which differ and vary from person to person, obviously, and from event to event, are a result of us disassociating and reassociating the stimuli that's associated with our intellect and this new taste or this new thing we acquired. Maybe like it could be a hobby, it can be food, it can, you know, like sushi, but it may be expensive and out of your budget, whatever. Or it could be exercise, or it could be excessive exercising. Now you have all this equipment and all this stuff. I remember like a few months ago, I was on like so many different supplements, and like, you know, it's like on fish oil pills. I was like on glutamine, you know, L-carnitine, like so many different things while I was working out. And I was taking protein, and I was, you know, on a strict vegan diet and everything. And the results were fascinating, and like the way I had like healthy fat on me, it was like gnarly, and my body was crazy. And that became addicting, you know. So, um, but the result was a spike in my temperament or my attitude. Like I was really, and that's not like me. I'm really like smooth sailing. But I was in an environment that um, had a lot of testosterone in it, and so it was one of my, you know, normal sort of detox, you know, from technology, from the world, everything, and retreat. Whether it's like with a Bible group or with, you know, a different environment or whatever, what have you. Just to completely just detox of everything, and then um, maintain, you know, a healthy balance and stay grounded. Um, that works for me 3 months out of a year, and then that may be like partner with another, you know, something else, a couple months there or something else. But I found that that type of um, state management is good for me. You know, that is not necessarily like mental health, but mental health is great. But just state management, just managing my state. You know, I'm naturally athletic, and so anything that revolves around like nature, national parks, Joshua, like all that stuff. Um, Yosemite is fun. Um, it's cool, and like hiking and stuff like that. And airsoft is fun, and um, exercise. Exercise is great. Um, so I was doing that, but I'm working on a song, and it's called, I think it's The World, and it's a little difficult because it's a different genre, so to speak. But it's what's been on my. It just came off the top of my head. It wasn't like, you know, pre-constructed or planned out or anything. And it just allows me to exercise my creativity. And exercising my creativity, it stimulates me the most. Um, and that's very important because I'm sweating. I have a heater on. Um, so and making sure that I'm stimulated is like the best thing creatively. Something that allows me to use my critical thinking skills, math and science skills, colors. Um, it's always a big thing because it's just the way I am. I'm a natural problem solver, so it's like anything that's like, you know, figure it out. It's like, okay, like I can figure it out. Like, don't help me, like just let me figure it out. You know, and that's what stimulates me the most. And Six Flags Magic Mountain, you know, those are my biggest things. And my friend just came back, and she's turned up like on 100. But I mean, it's fun and it's good to see her. And but you know, people change, and that's a great sign of growth. And you know, that's good. And so, whew, whew. Was just, you know, thinking about, you know, just um, other interpersonal things that I'm dealing with. One like um, the result of being a medical malpractice victim. You know, which is not good. I mean, you have these new AI or artificial intelligence um, developments, which I believe are completely completely great. But when your front end is a social environment and you're introducing um, your IPO to you know a global consumer, along with Tesla and so on and so forth, it can be very exciting. But it's the venue proper, and I think that's the biggest thing. Um, and as far as Neuralink, you know exactly what it says, Neuralink. This is a device that is specific to um, our healthcare or uh, our medical industry, and that's where it should stay and should be governed by those professionals. And w- this thing, neurotechnology should never or would never want to work, and two should never be, you know, at the whim of a collective who understands the world on a screen for the public consumption of American citizens in the advent of a rating system. That's on the other end of the spectrum. We're talking about sustainability and life-sustaining technology. When you think of Texas Instruments, what do you think of? Calculators. You think of schools. You think of mathematics, numbers. You think of uh, architectural design. You think of the Coburn School, even the Wilburn School, the Coburn School of Architectural Design in downtown Los Angeles, the Wilburn School and Da Vinci schools across from the U.S. Air Force Base at Aviation, which is a great school. And you think of life. These things, these devices, these technologies, these tools, they help us to sustain life, to advance the human condition, to aid in solvency or remedy for some of life's most challenging problems. This isn't a social thing. The telephone, AT&T, think AT&T, is practical and formidable, and has been successful because it does one of few things, and one of those things is it identifies and it um, accentuates or amplifies the intellect. It takes our sonics and our vocals and even our optic illusionary faculties, and accentuates them or emphasizes them. Sonic, vocal, but never intersecting and accentuate, specify. And that's what happens. Spotify. So, but when you have random people who are able to access an individual or a neural device or chip or brain implant that's inside of a citizen's brain, that's problematic because at any given moment without warning, that's grounds or um, that's you know uh, conducive to surprise or shock or startle or bewilderment. And an individual is more prone to become startled or frightened or interrupted, distracted by an unwelcomed or unanticipated uh, specification, or what do you call it? Interjection, interruption. An interruption. It's an interruption. Um, that interruption is can lead to a lot of harmful, fatalities or situations. Well, fatalities. I mean, when you think of auto, oh my God, when you think of auto, when you think of drivers, um, and you think of how many accidents we've seen, or fatalities we've seen or witnessed, please excuse me if you or a family member are victims of an auto accident, or um, have become um, disabled, or lost someone because of texting and driving, or a similar scenario, then please excuse me. But we know the smallest things can take a seemingly normal or perfect moment and turn it into a tragedy. So that's why telephones are and cellular phones are a solvent, because they accentuate and specify, but they don't, you know, surprise, let me figure out who it is, which is, nonsense. But I think one of the most important things is doctor patient doctor patient confidentiality, or um, yeah, doctor patient confidentiality clauses that safeguard patients, brain injury patients, depression patients, Parkinson, all these things um, that safeguard patients um, from harmful and intrusive acts by third parties, or by negligence of a healthcare provider or doctor um, who has no intention on opening up their ability to think freely, and their ability to go uninterrupted, unassaulted by the interruption and intrusion of any third party uh, without merit. There isn't any, our bodies are perfect, no matter how different our features are. We have an intellect, and our intellect is perfect, and it is comprised of um, five different senses, our common sense: ability to see, smell, taste, hear, and feel. Intellect. This is our intellect. And our intellect is important because it, by far, as it is designed and intended to do so, help us to identify potential good and bad, or harm, threat, or um, relative, or location. It helps us get to work. We can remember where um, our parking space is and our home is. And so these basic things are great. When you wake up and you see the sun and you can see all of the colors, that's a phenomenon that's by far one of the most fascinating recurring phenomenons that all of us experience. Some of us are aren't as lucky and as fortunate, but I enjoy seeing the yellow and the egg that I eat in the morning, or the specks of strawberry in the Eggo waffle. Um, I enjoy tasting orange juice or milk, and the color is even more distinct and vibrant each and every day. And we see this phenomenon, and what makes it a phenomenon is that we see it throughout every part of our day until we go to sleep. And the clothes we decide to wear, and the tie we decide to put on, or the sports jacket, the color of car we choose to drive, maybe the house that we decide to live in. The stop signs, of course, are a part of this continuum. Red, yellow, and green at the intersection. The phenomenon of color, being able to see things, is by far a form of discovery that is uncontested and is by far one of the most fascinating uh, perks of life. Why we decide to want to spend more time with our family and our loved ones. The phenomenon of the elements, when we see, well, hopefully not, the blue blood in our veins instantly turn red once oxygen shows us that we are dynamic creatures. It's everywhere. And whatever it is that you understand, whatever language you speak, whatever you believe in, one thing's for sure, that we don't want this phenomenon to end. But by far, we're seeking out ways to ensure that we live stronger, happier, safer, more vibrant lives. And it's in color. It's live and living color. The future. AI. AI can be a great thing. But we have to ensure that what people are doing, or what companies are doing and corporations are doing, are by far a service instead of a disservice. Sometimes when the popular, or celebrities or public figures, the popular, get first dibs on IPOs like Neuralink and Tesla, Elon Musk and Endeavor, sometimes people think that that's cool because they're celebrities, and some people say that it's unfair. Well, what do you think? Let me know. Is it unfair? Is it a disservice when the popular is allowed to make life-threatening or life-threatening decisions for the whole, for all of us, for the global consumer? When they make wholly uninformed and unintelligible decisions regarding life-sustaining developments like Neuralink. Neuralink is a neural device that's specific to the medical industry, which means life-sustaining. In 2009, Barack Obama promised in the allocation of $1 billion, 1 billion US taxpayer dollars, with the NIH and Dr. Francis, the National Institute of Health. You can go to nih.gov/brain, or down here, the Brain Initiative, and they have a working neuroethics group. It's still on, and the Brain Initiative is not exclusive to North America or the United States, but instead involves several other countries: China, I believe Africa, South America, Australia, and a few other places around the globe. And this is a global initiative. But all in all, when you promise to sustain life or human life expectancy on the planet Earth by allocating $1 billion, I believe it's taxpayer dollars, 1 billion US taxpayer dollars to sustaining life on Earth from the median age in the United States is approximately 65 to 67.9%, 67.5 years old. 10 years is enough, but 87 years old, about 20 years, give or take, is an entire lifetime. You have to consider we just survived a global pandemic, COVID-19, that was killing hundreds of thousands of human beings at an alarming rate, from China to the United States. And that was one of the scariest, most shocking, most truly one of my worst experiences by far. Rainy days, tolerable, but COVID-19 was something else. But when you look at these threats to our lives that have nothing to do with us, not considering our own, existence and day to day, but instead natural disasters, infrastructure fallacies, or infrastructure, the way our, roads and bridges and levees are maintained, terror threats, potential terror threats, our U.S. Department of Defense, Homeland Security, and armed forces, how they deliver aid and deploy, support. These things matter. How our law enforcement is upheld and how we address issues or concerns, Black Lives Matter, all lives matter, without undermining the intelligence of law enforcement is very important. U.S. diplomacy, how we communicate with foreign aid, with allies, and keeping our borders safe. Our societies of education, by far, and the doctors, nurses, and specialists and teachers that they graduate, is very important. And what burden would it be that we're attempting to foster new developments in technology and artificial intelligence? What's up, Google? Google Alphabet, or Alphabet Inc. and Google, or Google Alphabet Inc. Launched Google AI, and I signed up for a few of their labs, and that sounds like a great road to artificial prosperity, but blindsiding neuro patients, not just any neuro patients, patients who have special interests, who have more than a reasonable doubt or reasonable expectation of privacy, um, regarding intellectual property, trade secrets, business, um, um, you know, being safe um, is a big concern. And when that is interrupted, when you intentionally cheat consumers out of their opportunity, the opportunity to think freely, to be free and left alone in their person and in their home, by far making their place of refuge, their domain, their humble abode inhabitable. That's a problem. My grandparents, well, both of them, owned real estate um, on the multi-state, and it was always believed that I, would, of course, follow and the, steps of my grandparents and so on and so forth. Now, something or someone is making that a bit more difficult. No, it's not Kris Jenner and Ruth's Crisps, but instead, it's someone who I believe, well, even though it's out of venue, no one should be making life-sustaining decisions, permanent decisions, on the regarding someone's life and their ability to live, work, and to be free, and to pursue the American dream, the way the popular has interrupted that. And that's with Kanye and Kris Jenner and those people and all of them. No one is exempt. That's because they all share in some way, whether I like it or not, and because each and every one of them assume roles in companies that were in my family or that I had an interest in. And that's problematic. That's a conflict of interest. For any company that I hold an interest and there's a person who's making decisions that are adversary to common sense logic, is no partner of mine. Whether it's basketball, NBA, the NFL, stadiums, commercial, residential, whether it's home goods, whether it's Baidu China, whether it's national parks in Australia, real estate in Australia, whether it's diamonds in South Africa, whatever it is. When you are making decisions that are based off of your need to evade a consequence or circumstance, and that affects everyone, those decisions should always be brought to the attention of the person that it affects. No one has governance over my body. My body is perfect. My intellect, at this point, because of the interruption, the interference, that has occurred because of decisions made by individuals who are wholly uninformed or who have little to no time to consider the facts, or shouldn't even be involved in, you know, someone's life in that way. Uh, that's the problem. When you are assuming roles in companies that without you, that I hold an interest in, and you're instituting this as a means of solvency, that's a problem. And no matter who you are, I would rather not see you continue to make decisions that affect people in their lives, believing that it's a means of financial prosperity, or a means of doing business, or whatever it is. That's not how you do business. You don't misuse advancements in neurotechnology. This is like a heart defibrillator or whatever. It's not a social utility by any means. You know what happens when your intellect is disassociated? It's like you acquire a taste for things, and then by far you develop, you know, this taste, and the result is a waste. It's waste. Whether it's at a price point that's set at a premium, so you like sushi now, or whether it's, you know, going hiking and sunbathing. Now you have to either invest in sunscreens or, you know, suffer the side effects or the wear and tear of sunbathing. You know, maybe, God forbid, that's skin cancer. But all in all, there comes some sort of associated tax or cost. Drinking, you know, whatever it is, the byproduct is always, where there's a deviation, there's always a waste that's associated. And then the result is a process of divinity, which is division, dividing the good from the bad, you know. And that's a lot. That's a very serious thing, because our intellect is the most important part of our being, our whole, you know, our whole, as a person. I'm a whole person, but as a whole person, I'm comprised of my intellect, which is my five senses, which governs my brain and all the intel that it takes in. And now I can recollect things, places, people, places, things, and events. When you interrupt that, you attempt to disassociate my common sense with, and replace it with illogic, and that doesn't make any sense. And any person who's a good business person, who not only will love to see their bottom line met, which is hopefully to live a good life, doesn't by any means want to take the common sense and critical thinking faculties, or, you know, the ability to think constructively, critically, and practically, you know, as a lifelong learner, and replace it with anything else other than stupidity or nonsense. The opposite of common sense is nonsense. And so person that's in this world for self and attempting to do business by doing harm to themselves and others is no business partner of mine. That's not the way you get there. One, that's number one. And either you've done something incredibly wrong and dangerous that anything else would make more sense than being found guilty. Right now, we're moving forward off the cusp of another tragic end to a school shooting, an elementary school shooting. That's bad. How do you say that you're an American or business person giving counsel to Elon Musk or whomever, Whitesell, Ari, and see these things across the screen, headlines in the Post, on satellite radio, hear this on satellite radio, and still continue on allowing individuals that you pay with this guy's money to interrupt or to compel his behavior, interrupt his common sense and his intellect by distorting his ability to hear and to see concisely, clearly, and freely. Within the specificities of his life, to do whatever it is that he needs to do in maintaining his humanity and going about his business, going to school, going to work, adhering to the demands of his life, clients, other real estate owners, other students, other colleagues, and meet those demands and requirements that make it possible for you. Uninterrupted. Posing no threat to society. Now you pose a bigger threat. There's an elementary school down the street that my alma mater. Every time I do something good, like they paint a nice little emblem or, a thing on the tower. There's a tower, and when I wrote my first article for USC, they painted, USC fight on the wall. South Park Elementary, South Park Scorpions. And Miss Garcia was my kindergarten TA. Miss Caro, she's, the woman who would welcome us each and every morning. And Miss Williams, she lives across the street. I still say hi to her. And it's still a community. And this community is made possible by the parents, the students, the graduates, the schools, the administrators, the local police, who are not our enemies, who, when I was growing up, gave us baseball cards. That was a cool thing. To continue and forward development and advancement. When I did a panel on economic development and placemaking, creative placemaking, the takeaway wasn't like on YouTube or social media, but instead it was seeing the next generation of policymakers from Fremont, being a graduate of Fremont, a math and science magnet, sit down the way I did with their classmates and had a discussion, a panel. That was awesome. So when you see whatever good that's replicated, by far that's the synergy that I hope to uh, see save a life by far, and not because, you know, I make an album. I don't even want to downplay that. Not because, you know, I'm poor in character or, you know, have made decisions which are unbeneficial. Even with expert counsel, we should make informed decisions. And there are some people in positions who are associated with companies or you know, things because of me, and I wish they would resign, who make decisions that go against their best interest and the best interest of everyone else. You don't do that. This isn't a social thing. I don't want to hear your voice. If I don't email you or, you know, under, you know, a method by which it's protected and that's traditional, I don't play games with my body. Don't play games with my body. I don't take it lightly. You're no friend of mine. You're no counsel of mine, advisor. You don't act in the benefit of, because you have a poor character and you make decisions that are not in your own best interest, even when given expert counsel. When a doctor says, no, this is not good, then you adhere to his expert advice. By far, lives will be saved and life sustained. But at the rate we're going, again, I need Mr. West and whomever to please step back. You do not represent me or my family or our interest, either in my presence or their absence, and vice versa, because you lack the mental capacity to understand the difference of venue, separation, the importance of division, divinity, and common sense. You can't make decisions that are based on someone's life. You know, send in an IRS form that says I'm acting as or in the benefit of someone, Patrick White, and transfer assets or transfer whatever, and make decisions that I never agreed to. No power of attorney, no nothing. I don't know you. I've never spoken to you. I would not want to do business with you because of that. And, you know, thus far, my family has endured great pain and hardship because of your involvement or your want when you need to follow the law. That's simple. You know, no one wants someone who administers some sort of, you know, apparatus as a means for solvency, you know, that's completely unintelligible, and, you know, have a third party chanting Grey's Anatomy, Grey's Anatomy. Come on, guys. We're just going to go up to random medical malpractice patients and chant Grey's Anatomy, Grey's Anatomy, Grey's Anatomy, Grey's Anatomy, and hope that this, you know, we become the great people of, you know, Earth. That's not realistic. And approaching people and hoping that they, you know, accommodate you in your attempt at, you know, finding a method of solvency for your debt or whatever your problem or habits are, is not cool. I'm Patrick White, and that's been my time. Make sure you save room for milk. But I can't keep up. Good night.